Somewhere on a beautiful Caribbean beach, there is a tree. It has lovely green leaves. It produces small, round, green to yellow fruit that smells absolutely delicious and looks remarkably like a little apple. It offers shade on a hot day. It looks, by every reasonable visual measure, like exactly the kind of tree you would walk up to, lean against, and maybe pick a piece of fruit from. Do not do any of those things. This tree has been called the most dangerous tree on Earth by the Guinness World Records, and that is not marketing. Every single part of this tree is toxic. The fruit will cause your throat and digestive system to swell so severely you cannot swallow. The sap causes chemical burns on contact with skin. If it gets in your eyes, it can cause temporary or permanent vision damage. If you stand under this tree during rain, the water dripping off the leaves picks up enough of the tree's chemistry to raise painful blisters on your skin. And if someone is reckless enough to burn the wood, the smoke alone can cause respiratory damage and temporary blindness. Spanish conquistadors, encountering this tree in the Caribbean for the first time, named it Manzanilla de la Muerte, the little apple of death. And ancient indigenous peoples of the Caribbean and Central America looked at this absolute nightmare of a plant and thought, brilliant, we can use that. Today we are talking about the manchineel tree, the world's most dangerous tree, and the remarkably clever ways that ancient humans turned nature's most aggressive chemical weapon into one of the most effective hunting and defense tools in the ancient world. Step 1. Let us properly appreciate just how committed this tree is to causing problems, because the manchineel is not dabbling in danger. It is professionally, thoroughly, comprehensively dangerous in a way that most plants could never achieve even if they tried. The manchineel tree's scientific name is Hippomane manzanella, and it belongs to the same plant family as the rubber tree and poinsettias. The active compounds in the manchineel are a group of chemicals called phorbol esters, along with several other toxic compounds that work together to create what scientists describe, with what feels like significant scientific understatement, as a highly irritating effect on biological tissue. Highly irritating. Right. Causing chemical burns, swelling airways, and temporarily blinding people is described as highly irritating. These compounds are present in literally every part of the tree. The fruit pulp, the fruit skin, the sap flowing through every branch, the bark, the leaves, the roots. The tree appears to have decided that if it was going to be toxic, it was going to be thorough about it. Historical accounts from Spanish explorers in the Caribbean record multiple incidents of soldiers and sailors eating the fruit, which genuinely looks and smells appealing, and suffering severe consequences as a result. One account describes men experiencing extreme throat swelling, intense burning pain throughout the digestive system, and prolonged illness after eating even small quantities of the fruit. Several historical sources credit the manchineel with causing deaths among early European explorers who encountered it before anyone warned them what it was. The tree is so consistently dangerous that in many Caribbean coastal areas today, individual trees are marked with warning signs or red paint on the trunk, essentially nature requiring a hazard label. Step 2. Now here is where ancient humans enter the story. And honestly, the fact that someone looked at this tree, the tree that burns you in the rain, blinds you with its smoke, and makes your throat swell shut if you eat its fruit, and thought, I wonder if I could use that, says everything you need to know about human ingenuity and a complete absence of fear. Indigenous peoples of the Caribbean, Central America, and Northern South America, including the Carib people, for whom the Caribbean Sea is named, discovered that the manchineel's extraordinarily toxic sap was not just a danger to avoid. It was a resource to use, and they developed remarkably sophisticated methods for extracting, preparing, and applying it. The most documented use was as a coating for arrows and blowgun darts for hunting. The manchineel sap, applied to the tip of an arrow or dart and allowed to dry, created a surface that would introduce the tree's toxic compounds, directly into the tissue of whatever the projectile struck. The result was not instant, but it was effective. The compounds worked systemically in wounded prey, accelerating incapacitation and reducing the distance an injured animal could travel before being recovered by the hunter. Handling this sap without causing serious injury to yourself was, as you might imagine, not a trivial challenge. Indigenous peoples who worked with Manchineel sap developed careful techniques to minimize contact, using leaves or other plant material as barriers, working in specific conditions, and applying the sap in ways that kept it away from their own skin and especially their eyes. This knowledge was extremely specific, practically developed, and passed down within communities as specialized knowledge that not everyone possessed. The person in the community who knew how to safely work with Manchineel sap was, you might say, a very niche professional. Beyond hunting, historical accounts and anthropological records document Manchineel being used in defense of settlements. Carib communities were documented by early Spanish explorers as having positioned Manchineel trees strategically around certain areas, and in some accounts, as having used Manchineel sap to contaminate water sources during conflict. A community that understood the Manchineel's properties deeply enough to weaponize it strategically was a community with genuinely sophisticated knowledge of its local environment and a very creative approach to problem solving. There are also historical accounts, though these require some care in interpretation because they come primarily from European sources who were not always the most objective observers, of Carib warriors using Manchineel in various ways during resistance against Spanish colonization. The Spanish, who had named this tree the Little Apple of Death, apparently did not enjoy discovering that the people they were attempting to conquer had figured out how to use it against them, which, honestly, seems fair. Step 3. Here is what this story actually tells us. Every dangerous thing in the natural world is dangerous because it contains something biologically powerful. A snake's venom is dangerous because it is a highly effective compound that disrupts biological systems. Certain mushrooms are dangerous for the same reason. And the Manchineel tree is dangerous because it produces some of the most potent contact irritants found in any plant on Earth. Ancient humans, living in close daily relationship with their natural environment, understood this principle intuitively, even without the chemistry to explain it. They did not know what a formyl ester was. They did not need to. They knew that this tree caused damage, that the damage was caused by something in the sap, and that if they could get that sap onto something that entered another creature's body, the effect would follow. The rest was careful, practical experimentation. The same process that gave ancient humans plant medicines, fermented foods, and fire management. Watch what happens, remember what works, and pass the knowledge forward. The Manchineel tree spent millions of years evolving one of the most comprehensive chemical defense systems in the plant kingdom. Ancient humans looked at it, figured out how it worked, and turned it into a tool, while somehow managing not to cause themselves serious injury in the process, which, given the properties of this tree, is genuinely impressive. Nature made the most dangerous tree on Earth, and ancient humans, true to form, decided it was useful. If this gave you a new appreciation for both the natural world and the creativity of ancient peoples, subscribe and leave a comment below. And maybe, if you ever find yourself on a Caribbean beach next to a pleasant-looking apple tree, read the sign first.